Welcome, friend, to Life and Liberty Radio. I'm David Householder, here to encourage your pursuit of happiness. You and I are partners, exploring our shared spiritual journeys. Together, we're dreaming and working for a free society. Tell others today about our adventure in faith and freedom. So breathe in, open your mind, lift up your spirit. Let's get started. So who are my picks? This is David Householder here. Who are my picks for the top 10 presidents of all time? Well, this is President's Day in 2013, and I'm going to just run them off for you. Number 10. So these are the 10 best. Number 10, Andrew Jackson. Why Andrew Jackson? Well, you got to love a guy who's just kind of a backwoods guy and got a fend for yourself kind of character. And he wanted hard money, and he believed that money should retain its value and shouldn't be manipulated by the state. And therefore, he rejected the rechartering of the Second Bank of the United States. That was the equivalent of the Federal Reserve back then, a Central American bank where politicians could manipulate the values of the money, which they do now, since 1913. He got rid of it, and it was really, really good for the country. Number 10, Andrew Jackson. Number 9, Grover Cleveland. Why Grover Cleveland? Nobody's ever heard of Grover Cleveland these days, but the truth is he served twice in two different terms separated by another president. Well, first of all, he vetoed hundreds of pension expansions. Vetoed and vetoed and vetoed. No, we're not going to pay ourselves more in our retirement. And we can use a Grover Cleveland these days with our state pensions. He was against tariffs. He was for free trade with other countries. He didn't believe in taxing things coming in, thinking that's bad for Americans. They end up paying more for things when you put a tariff, an import tax on things. He was a strident supporter of the gold standard, keeping money the same value no matter what. He was against pressure to start a colony in Congo in Africa. It was one of the last places in Africa left. There was a land rush. All the European powers were carving up Africa, and people were saying, hey, Grover Cleveland, you got to get in there and make sure we get a colony too. He said, we're not an imperial power. We are a republic. It would sort of be against our principles to become the redcoats. He was also against annexing Hawaii, since the people in Hawaii didn't want it in the first place. Now, what's done is done. Hawaii is American. That's the way it is. But at that time, you don't just take over an island and say, it's ours now. He was also for merit pay for federal employees. Number 9, Grover Cleveland. Number 8 is going to surprise a lot of you, but I'm convinced he's going to be seen by conservatives as one of the best conservative presidents. You're going to laugh. In my lifetime, and that would be Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, he was a Democrat. Well, kinda. Democrat in name only. The only president in my lifetime to balance the budget several years in a row. He pushed through the Defense of Marriage Act, signed that. That's a good thing. He was for welfare reform, and he and Newt Gingrich reformed the welfare system and put millions of people back to work and took them off the welfare rolls, which was a gigantic boost to the economy. And we had unprecedented prosperity because we had more people working and producing more. He was against regulating the web, and to this day you can listen to me because of that. He kept us out of major war, although he did get into a lot of mischief in a lot of places militarily. He was for school prayer, for gun rights, and abortions went down and crime went down during his time as president. So, yes, he had some foibles. Yes, he did. But just as far as he affected the country, on balance, not so bad. Not so bad in comparison to the others. Number 7, Martin van Buren. He was a free market guy. In the Panic of 1837, he decided to do nothing and let the economy fix itself. He said it was like the weather. It needs to readjust, and you don't want to meddle with it. Oh, if only people would listen to that now. He deregulated finances and got the market and the government more separated. He was pushing for gold and silver money, and people told him he needed to attack the Mormons. And he says, no, you don't do that in the United States. We don't attack our own people. Martin Van Buren, number 7. Number 6, the one my teachers always said was one of the worst presidents. Warren Harding. Well, he had troops in Haiti, thanks to our friend Woodrow Wilson, took them home, made them come home. He says, we shouldn't have troops in foreign countries. The Panic of 1921 came about when the bill for World War I came due. And you know what he did? He cut spending, and he decided not to intervene, came right out of it, and the result was the Roaring '20s. Not such a bad deal. If only Herbert Hoover had done the same thing during the Panic of '28. He cut Wilson's income tax rates. He also pardoned Wilson's political prisoners. Yes, President Wilson had political prisoners. People who disagreed with him could go to jail. Number 6, Warren Harding.
My name is Ruben J., and you're listening to Life and Liberty Radio with David Householder. I am the host and producer of the hit internet radio show On Air with Ruben J. You can catch my show live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on RubenJ.com. On Air with Ruben J. brings you entertainment headlines the way it's supposed to be brought by me. On Tuesdays, I bring you Top 10 Twitter Tuesdays, where I play some of the most talked about songs on Twitter of the week. And on Thursdays is where I bring to you live interviews and live performances from some of today's up-and-coming artists. So for entertainment headlines and more, tune into On Air with Ruben J, only on RubenJ.com. You can find us on Twitter at TheRubenJ and on Facebook.com/TheRubenJ. And I'll see you on Tuesday or Thursday.
Number 5, John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, another Democrat. Why? Because, first of all, he did the Apollo program, which I think, even though I'm not a spendy guy, and that was a lot of money, was probably one of the greatest things we've done. We got together and we did something big and something peaceful. And for the rest of human history, people can say, if we can put men on the moon, we can fill in the blank. Put anything you want there. We can do anything, which I think was amazing. Tax cuts. He cut income tax, and everyone says, you can't cut income tax. That's going to wreck the economy. And you know what? He cut income taxes, and revenues went up. He also said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, which is a voluntarist creed to this day. Thank God for that phrase. It will be repeated forever. He also tried to abolish the CIA. And had he been reelected, who knows? Maybe he would have done it. Number 4. We're moving up here to the very top presidents. Number 4. My Mount Rushmore would look a little different than most people's Mount Rushmore. Number 4 would be Abraham Lincoln. For one reason and one reason only, he freed slaves. And chattel slavery was one of the original sins of the United States. They couldn't figure it out at the time of the founding of the country, couldn't make it happen, and finally Abraham Lincoln had to do the thing. And if you've seen the Lincoln movie, you know what that cost him, and I just think that's a big step. We freed millions of people out of slavery. If you care about liberty, that's a really, really big deal. Number 3, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, you may say, well, what's Ronald Reagan doing on my Mount Rushmore? Well, he belongs there. First of all, he fired the air traffic controllers. He ended the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. He basically kept us at peace. We didn't do any crazy wars during his time. He stared down the Russians. He was a man of conviction, not necessarily a man of great erudition, a C student at best. But Ronald Reagan, especially for his free market conviction. Now, he didn't always have great advisors, and he made big mistakes with spending and a whole bunch of other stuff. But in his gut, he believed in the free market, and we haven't had that for a long time. He was like a respite. in a long line of presidents who believed that the government is the answer. Well, Reagan actually said the government is the problem. And he was right because he understood limited government. Number 2, my second Mount Rushmore guy, is someone nobody's hardly ever heard of, Calvin Coolidge, a devout believer from New England, kept to himself, an iron will, a little bit of an odd duck. He didn't say much. When he was going to be sworn in as president, he didn't want a bunch of fuss. He looked at the Constitution, realized that it didn't say who had to do it. His dad was there at their cabin up in New England, and his dad administered the oath, and he became president. And so that's the way it is, with some witnesses there. He was just a no-nonsense guy, and we could sure use some more of that right now. He withdrew our troops from the Dominican Republic. He established full citizenship for American Indians, for our Native Americans. He definitely decreased the income tax. He took the price controls off of farms, and he had budget surpluses. And he continued to fight Hoover. He said Herbert Hoover gave him 6 years of bad advice and never once gave him any advice he could use, because Hoover said, you need to intervene. He says, no, you don't need to do that. A person needs to mind his own business. And Calvin Coolidge did that. He ran the country well. We prospered. We stayed out of war. And if we had lots of Calvin Coolidges lined up, we would have an amazing country. Because our teachers told us the ones who did the most were the best. But I don't think so. I think the people who actually kept the country in the best state of affairs are the best presidents. And number 1, you knew this was coming, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, he banned slavery in the Northwest Territories. He reduced taxes and debt. But most of all, he is the father of the idea of limited government, and he was always against people being authoritarian and running things from a central place. So he was the person who wanted decentralized government, decentralized as far as possible. And he also was the one who grounded our rights in natural rights. Natural rights are so very important. And what that means is we're endowed by our Creator, those are Jefferson's words, with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Inalienable means you can't get rid of them, even if you wanted to. You can't sell them, you can't throw them away. They are part of being human. And if, as Jefferson said, those rights came from our Creator, no man can take them away. If they came from a vote or from a majority or from social contract, those same people can take away those rights. And we are so blessed that we had Thomas Jefferson. Number 1 on my list of 1 to 10. So let's count them down again. 10, Andrew Jackson. 9, Grover Cleveland. 8, Bill Clinton. 7, Martin Van Buren. 6, Warren Harding. 5, John F. Kennedy. 4, Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln. 3, Ronald Reagan. Number 2, Calvin Coolidge. Number 1, Thomas Jefferson. And that's my list. What's yours? Go down to the comments section and give me your list or comment on mine. You like them, you don't like them, whatever. Let's have a great discussion. Coming up next, I'm going to give you my bottom 10. Well, that's all for today on Life and Liberty Radio. Thanks so much for sharing this part of your spiritual journey with me. Now, the views on this program are not necessarily those of my advertisers, sponsors, places I work or do business with. They're purely my own, but I'm sharing them with you, so share your ideas with me. Write me on Twitter at Liberty House, LIBERTYHOUS, no E. Until next time, let's continue dreaming and working for a free and spiritually grounded society.